That's all you get, because they'll kick us off YouTube most likely. There it is. Welcome in. We're doing it's the Cinema Night Podcast. Hey. I wish I could play that song. What a great theme. We'll get into that. There is something good with this movie. At least one thing would be good about this film. I don't know if it's going to be more than one good thing or not. We're going to find out when we dive into Superman Returns for our Does It Hold Up focus. But first, here we are, cinemanipod@gmail.com. Send us an email. We have an email that we need to read, actually. Travis Roy and Eric Brancham are here. Travis, it's Thursday. Now, we've gone back and forth before, but we're going to Thursdays now. It's official?
You tell me, Chief. Is it official?
I think it is. Following your lead.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, as far as I know, we are now switched back to Thursdays, just in time for me to get used to it being on Wednesdays, of course, and have it stop. Because remember, like when we first switched, we were constantly like, it's like fucked with my whole sense of what day it is, and we kept on thinking the next day was Friday.
I remember, yes.
So I kind of just stopped doing that. So looking forward to that again.
Just go. Can you go back to the previous settings you had? If you have like a default settings for Travis Roy.
Yeah. I'll have to log in on my laptop instead of on my phone. But yeah, I can click those.
Yes.
I'll toggle those switches or flip those widgets.
Toggle those switches. Hey, well, we're gonna be back on Thursdays, 7:15. There's a dog there. What's up, buddy? What's going on with this dog here?
That's a cute dog. Why are you talking like that?
I don't know why I talked like that.
Guys, see that Willow trailer? Kevin Pollak is back.
No, you got problems. You know what? We should have checked this. We're live on the air, but I think you got serious. Oh, there we go. Now it sounds like you.
Oh. Yeah. Hello. What's the problem here?
Yeah.
It was very distant.
Yeah, now it sounds like you.
I got to be this close to the mic?
Well, no.
Not usually.
I was going to say, did you see the Willow trailer? Kevin Pollak is back as the brownie.
You don't have to
not seen that.
You don't have to be on top of it.
Well, it sounds good, though. You do sound really good there. I will say that. So.
All right. Well, I can hear you there, though. Fuck it, though, is what I'm saying. You don't have to, like, make love to it. Yeah.
Let me
has Go ahead. Dropped yet? Has any episode? I thought that there was like an episode or two that are out. No, not yet. Looking forward to it. I just haven't. I guess I haven't checked to see when those dates are.
Yeah, let me look into that because that's gonna be a big deal. Eric, can I recommend real quick that you just double check your settings? Because I'm getting some feedback. I know we're live, so it's awkward, but just double check real quick while I look up Willow release date. Is November 30th, which, so I guess it is there.
Okay. Audience, right? I'm wondering, what is more awkward? The guy checking his volumes or the guy Googling shit on the show? Send us an email.
Googling shit on a podcast is standard as fuck.
If you're Joe Rogan.
I mean, Joe Rogan's... that guy who works with Joe Rogan is like a millionaire now because all he does is Google shit. So,
that's shit. Not a convincing podcast in my estimation, but what do I know about Joe Rogan? Very little, thankfully.
I guess not.
As I was saying, you can email us at cinema9podcast@gmail.com, or is it cinema9pod@gmail.com? Which one is it?
Cinema9pod.
Cinema9pod@gmail.com.
The succinct and concise. So we got an email?
Yeah, we got an email from Steve. What's up, Steve? Steve was just texting me earlier, and here's how it goes. The feature takes a dip into a lackluster, gluttonous wasteland. Travis gets up and starts doing other things, folds laundry. Brancho doesn't bother to pause as he moseys over to the can for a spot of relief. Govier fast forwards. What's different? Govier exercises agency and stems the bleed instead of accepting his fate? ? These methods all seem valid in a laterally productive sort of way, and I support the gamut. Got to go to the show where the good times are. It's more fun at MJR, which is includes the MJR trailer, which you can watch on YouTube. He's offered up a link. What's it like to attract more than double MJR subscribers? Have a big night out. So we're doubling up MJR subscribers? Wow. Hell yeah. That's awesome.
Dude, last time I was at the movies, I went to MJR, and I've been going to MJR theaters like my whole life, and this had never happened to me before. But when I was at this particular theater, I missed the memo because it was like the whole fucking audience. But every time in the commercial at the start of the show, that more than just a movie, it's a big night out. Everybody sang that part and clapped along with it, like both times, and it was like the whole audience was doing it, like they all knew. And I was like, I didn't know that this was a thing that people did. I've been going to the movies a whole bunch at MJR's and never had that happen before. Isn't that weird?
I've never seen that.
I'm really looking
Have you
forward
seen
to
that,
it.
Eric?
They still have the Big Pop. I remember laughing at the Big Pop.
No, the Big Pop has moved on.
Oh man! Oh, here he is. Look at this. Sup, Stutz?
Hey,
yeah,
there he
fucking Stutz.
Fucking Stutz.
Yeah, it's so funny that he brought up Stutz. Yeah, that's perfect.
Share any
Oh, we
personal
made fun of
details, make a
ourselves.
documentary on
Yeah.
yourself.
But don't share anything. Yeah, try to kind of make a documentary about yourself, but really don't reveal anything. Yeah, so Willow is something that I'm going to have to sit down and really kind of absorb this because it seems like a good opportunity for a show to be made out of it. You know, it's the kind of thing we only got one movie out of, so there's a lot of opportunity to go into other areas of the Willow world, right, Travis?
I have been looking forward to this for some time. I mean, as a kid, I was like, oh, they're going to make more. No, Travis, they're not going to make more. They're going to wait 25 years or 30 years or whatever and then make a TV show. So I'm on board. No Val, but I'm still on board.
Yeah. Is there a Mad Morgan character? Do you know this, Eric?
I'm not. I don't know
There's
if you know
gotta be.
about this, me, but I'm not a Willow fan. I think Willow's a terrible film.
Yeah, you've said this on the show before. It's just
I'm not
it's
going
just
to
you
watch
and me,
the
Mike.
series.
I guess I just think of you because I bought that stupid ass.
That stupid monster. I know.
Yeah,
know.
the two-headed
dragon.
snakehead monster
I
at the
sat
toy
there and
store in
watched you
Chicago.
plunk down $80 for it in disbelief.
$80.
I spent a large amount of money on that stupid thing. I got it in the box though. It was the original box too. It was so I thought like, oh, this is so cool. And of course, I don't know where the fuck that thing is now.
So there you go.
Of course.
It was only 7 years ago. It wasn't like 20 years ago either. So it's damn it. Well, I make mistakes every day, guys. I got a lot of problems. And I'm
Willow
making
woes.
mistakes again and again.
Mad Willow woes.
Woes. We also had a bus driver named Willow. That was my original bus driver.
Yeah.
So-
Only it wasn't that she looked like Willow, right? I thought it was more that she looked like the witch. Because everyone would walk because we called her Willow because like we get on
No,
the bus and everyone would go Willow off good.
Yeah, she
short.
looked like Willow.
Yeah,
she
was
had
like
the
3
haircut.
foot tall.
It really
She looked
all
like
she-
Willow.
I never
had
saw
was
it.
the hair. It
I
was really
literally-
just the hair.
I never saw it. I always thought that she looked like the witch lady, the older woman.
Yeah,
So I never really
yeah,
understood.
yeah.
But I joined in when I got on the bus. I dutifully said Willow to her, and she.
You say beautifully, and yet she was so mad every time someone would refer to as Warwick Davis as Willow.
Yeah, she looked like Warwick Davis, man. It's an unfortunate. I mean, Warwick Davis is not an ugly man, but if you're a woman, I guess maybe you might take offense to that. I don't know.
I mean, I'm a man, and I think that there's. I mean, nothing against old Warwick, but I think there's other people I'd rather personally be compared to.
Sure.
Well, shit, Sheriff. Either way,
me.
shit on me. I will be checking out Willow when I get a chance, of course, because Willow's fun for me. There's a lot of stuff that we're going to check out heading into December here because it is December 1st, and we're going to have some. Sure, there's going to be some holiday movie selections that will continue forth here on the Cinema 9 podcast. Next week, we've got a guest. He's a very, very influential Hollywood type. So it's going to be our privilege to have on a friend of ours who has made it. Really has. He's in the movies. He makes movies. Is that too ridiculous a claim?
No, that's what he does.
Not going to press him.
Yeah.
Now. I don't intimidate him divulging any future projects. That I'm getting worried about.
Okay. Well, either way, yeah, we'll have our friend on next week, Paul. He's a great guy, and it was so great to see him this year at this year's feast, which is our annual kind of gathering of friends. And I hadn't seen him in a long time, and he's going to be on our show next week. And Travis, do you have his film selection?
I do indeed.
I'm excited.
Okay, can't wait to find out what that is at the end of the show. That'll be a real hoot for those of you that like to learn about what movie we'll do in a week from now, which is usually how it works. 7 days, you get to watch a film, and then we'll review it and dive into the details. Does it suck? Is it bad? Why? Music, acting, direction, all that crap. We cover as much as we can here on the Cinema 9 Pod. Steve, thanks for your email. I'm glad you're here, Steve. You're on Twitch. We don't have a lot of Twitch commenters, so this is rare when someone watches us on Twitch, but we do exist on Twitch, so you can find us there, Cinema 9 Pod. All right, let's get into our quarantine viewing picks. Travis Roy, you have control of the board.
I do. And, it is December 1st, and I started this morning with my Christmas music podcast playlist, which I've been waiting to do. But, I've been.
Oh, you got muted. I guess society got pissed.
I'm sorry. Yeah, the cord on my microphone has gotten. I need to replace it. It's gotten loose. If I touch it or breathe on it wrong, it unplugs and everything goes to shit.
Ridiculous.
But as I was trying to say, I've been splurging on Christmas films for several days. I waited until the day after Thanksgiving and then jumped in full bore. Speaking of Thanksgiving, I was in West Virginia with my family, so I watched a couple things down there. PT&A every Thanksgiving. Got to check in with PT&A. We did 4 Christmases because my mom and stepfather, that's their favorite Christmas movie, which is funny to me, but it is a good Christmas movie. It's just funny to me for some reason that it's their favorite. I'm like, I mean, they love It's a Wonderful Life too, but their second favorite is easily 4 Christmases. I checked out in Connecticut from 1945. I absolutely loved it. Just so much fun. A delightful, really sweet. I think should be up there with a lot of the Christmas classics from that era that people are into. I mean, if you like, Miracle on 34th Street and It's a Wonderful Life and all that kind of stuff, and you've never seen Christmas in Connecticut, like, get your ass to Mars. I of course checked out the Guardians Holiday Special. Did you guys watch the Guardians of Galaxy? Or Mike, did you watch the Guardians of Galaxy Holiday Special?
I have not seen that. No.
Well, I was delighted. Naturally, I was happy with it. 45 minutes of fun. It was nice to check in with those characters. Speaking of classic Christmas movies, I watched the 1938 take on A Christmas Carol. That was a fun one to put on while I hung Christmas decorations and that kind of stuff. Checked in on.
Well, you're a big Christer, by the way. You people should know that about Travis.
No, that's not actually true.
All hail Jesus Christ's birthday, December 25th. So.
One of the things I like about Christmas and Halloween both is that they predate their names. These holidays have been celebrated by pagans for centuries, well before they were even called what we call them today. So I take it from that stance. It's a winter solstice kind of thing. Who doesn't like Christmas music and trees and lights and presents and shit? Right?
Eggnog? Anybody like eggnog?
Dude, I bought my second carton today. I'm gonna just keep on packing on the pounds. I love eggnog. Yeah,
Spike it? You just drink eggnog right out of the
I'll do it either way. I'm a wild card.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll just rip it right out of the carton, just dump it down my face.
What the fuck
I
is
don't go
eggnog?
that far.
What is it?
It's nog made from egg.
What the fuck is nog?
It's eggnog. Yeah.
I don't know, dude.
Nog was a character in Willow, I think, wasn't it? Yeah. Nog was like the Nogs invaded. No, I've had one eggnog I really liked one year, and I can't find it since. It was a cinnamon flavored one. It was really good, and it really hit the spot that year, but I haven't had it since.
Well, Southern Comfort makes a fine eggnog. Ooh. I mean, not mixing it doesn't come with Southern Comfort in it. It's just from the company. Oh. It's just non-alcoholic eggnog.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a surprise. Interesting.
Oh yeah, that's great. Anyways, speaking of Christmas movies, because that's all I watched pretty much. I watched Spirited, the new Apple Christmas movie with Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell. Yeah, not for me. Like overly long. It's like 2 hours and 15 minutes or something. Kind of depressing in some ways, but also like. I like a good musical, but I didn't really like any of the songs. So it's just like, I don't know. I was pretty not into it throughout the entirety of the film. On the other hand, I have to wholeheartedly disagree with my co-host, Eric Brandstrom, who demanded that anyone who liked the film A Christmas Story Christmas tell him what scenes that they actually liked. Sure. I'm not going to do that. I don't have to fucking justify to you what scenes I was amused by in this movie, but I can tell you that I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was a fitting sequel, especially being that like it was so long after the fact. It's really hard to do that, but I felt like it was true to the original in that it had vignettes. It had these Ralphie moments when he kind of spaces out and has his fantasies, but I also didn't feel like it was leaning only on nostalgia, which you clearly did because you fucking hated it. Like you were beside yourself, and we all heard that, so I know how you feel. And maybe in fact your expectations stripped mine down, or what you said may have stripped my expectations down some, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I could watch more of these things from this crew. I didn't get the hate. Lastly but not leastly, I've got an episode and a half to finish. I didn't quite get to finish it tonight, but I'm finishing up Dead to Me season 3. which is
Oh.
the final season of this show. This great show. I just love this show so much. I mean, Linda Cardellini is awesome, and she's fantastic in this. But I've said it before on the show. I mean, I just love Christina Applegate so much, and this is probably her tour de force. And I'm almost sad that I only got an episode and a half to finish up, but it's great. So check that out if you've never. He's doing the full Diane Keaton wail for us. Lying in bed crying. Yeah, no, it was fantastic. I love Dead to Me. But so yeah, then that's the only non-Christmas thing I watched this week besides Superman Returns, of course.
Okay. Also, okay, so Dead to Me, the new season just came out, right? It's pretty recent.
Yeah, within the past 2 weeks or week.
Okay. Leanne brought it up. She said, hey, someone said I should start watching the show. So we fired up the first episode. So I have not seen the whole show, but we did watch the first episode, and I'm interested, and I will continue down that path.
It's a good path.
I look forward to good things happening. Also, I just had this thrown in my face today. There's a Super Mario Brothers, like Super Mario the movie.
Yeah.
Animated.
Did you see the trailer?
Yeah, Chris Pratt.
I watched like 25 seconds of the trailer, but it was no sound. It just kind of came up in my feed. I was like, what the fuck? This looks like a video game. Like the thing about Sonic is that, yeah, he's a digital character, but he's in the real world. I don't know. For some reason, it's not that much of a leap for me for a video game and a character to look that much different. I don't know why it bothered me, but I guess I want to try to see like real world creations of video game characters, because otherwise it just looks like the video game to me. I don't know why that was, but it bothered me.
I didn't. I that's an interesting point. I didn't think of that. So I watched the trailer. I'm like, oh, why? Who cares about this? And then I'm like, oh, it's Illumination Studios, and they do gorgeous animation. Despicable Me films. I liked the trailer. I was like, shit. Like Jack Black is Bowser, and like Charlie Day is Luigi.
Oh.
And, like Chris Pratt seemed fine to me. Like his expectation wasn't like offensive, but it was kind of there in some places. I think it looks like a lot of fun just to throw on. So I don't know.
Travis, any commentary on that?
Not a theater watch, but as soon as it's streaming on whatever, I'll of course give it a shot.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, and it never struck me. I hadn't even thought about it once, but when I saw the trailer, I'm like, okay, it's a video game that looks like the video game, because video games look that good now. It's just weird. I don't know why it was so odd for me, but I'm not excited. I'm not that fired up. And then I also thought, Jesus, what a franchise they've been sitting on. I know Super Mario Brothers from 1993 was a train wreck, but it's surprising to me that it's taken this long for them to start to cash in, because they love money, so it's weird in a way.
I think we have Sonic to thank for that, which, again, we also have the people, the fans, who corrected the mistake.
That's right.
Because that movie would have fucking floundered had they not redone the film. And then I think people felt kind of personally invested, like, oh shit, we kind of made them do this. I guess we should go see this movie. And of course, it turned out to be good. So all of those,
great.
So all of those things combined, I think that's what they're like. Well, shit, what other property have we been sitting on? Well, here's an obvious one.
Oh, hey, I think I know who this is. Amanda says eggnog has origins in posset, which was a medieval British drink of hot milk mixed with wine or ale.
You asked what eggnog was, and our friend Amanda, she knows.
Nailed it.
She knows her food and drink.
Now I'm going to ask Amanda what the fuck posset is.
Yeah, I've never heard of that either.
Thank you,
Amanda will be a guest on our show as well soon. So
looking forward to
a lot
that.
of guests.
Yep,
We're going to have a whole bunch of guests in 2023. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we look forward to having her on. All right, Eric, back to you. Sorry, I didn't mean to hijack your segment.
I celebrate Thanksgiving with the parade, the dog show, as I always do, and then Son of a Woman, man. I always come back every year. Son of a Woman's kind of my Thanksgiving movie. It never gets old for me. It's an absolute classic. And this is the fucking 30-year anniversary. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
30 years.
30 years. 30 years.
Wow.
But yeah, what else can you say? Amazing. Cape Fear, 1962, man. Been on a Bob Mitchum kick lately. And it's fantastic. It's different enough from Scorsese's remake that it's definitely worth watching. It's not just the same movie that Marty remade. Lot of fun. Travis, I want to recommend holiday affair to you if you're like doing Christmas classics. I watch this every Christmas too. It's Robert Mitchum and Janet Leigh, kind of a romance in New York during Christmas time. I think 1949. I think you'd like it quite a bit.
I will write that down.
A butthead.
Yes, I mean,
That's
if
by
you're talking,
Robert Mitchum.
Yeah, if you're talking Mitchum in a holiday movie, obviously we're going to think it's Scrooge.
A butthead.
Like, call me your
That's
flat name, butthead. I don't know, but it sounded pretty rude to me.
Yeah, definitely. I also watched while I was putting up my tree a couple of Dean Martin Christmas specials on YouTube. These are bonkers. They're hammered. Him and Frank Sinatra are fucking plastered drunk out of their minds on scotch, trying to celebrate Christmas with their families. Like they have all their kids around and they're just like fucking around, like barely singing the songs. It's hilarious, man. It's one of these specials like you'd think back in like the 70s, like they're not going to re-air this. Like this is the only time anyone's ever going to see this with this technology we have. But no. They resurface, and it's fucking embarrassing and a lot of fun. Wednesday. I hit play on Wednesday on Netflix, mostly because Tim Burton directs a handful of the episodes, and where there's Burton, there's Brandstrom. So I had no qualms about turning it on, and I like Jenna Ortega, and the cast looked interesting. Louis Guzman as Gomez, and Catherine Zeta-Jones looks fucking fantastic, gorgeous, beautiful as Morticia.
Yeah, look at her. I saw her. I'm like, oh my God, it's Catherine Zeta-Jones in a big role.
I missed her. Yeah, and I missed her when she came on the screen. I was like, fuck, where has she been? Because she had
some real problems with depression and shit. She was very honest about that stuff.
Some issues for sure. It was nice to see her back, limited capacity.
Entrapment ass. I'm sorry. Growing up,
dude,
if Guile's still watching, Guile knows what I'm talking about.
Never wanted to be a laser beam so bad in my life. After 3 episodes out of like the 8, it's like, okay, all right. It's like there's only so many like macabre quips you can hear Wednesday reply to some like normal person with. It's and the whole conceit is like she goes to like this like of course school for the gifted again, and when you take this like bizarre grim classic character who's wholly unique and then surround her with like other people that are like her, the mystique and like the unique nature of her just disappears, and it's like, who cares? I don't get this.
At the same time, and I haven't seen it, so I can't necessarily defend it, but they already did her around a bunch of normies with Addams Family too. So Addams Family Values. So it's like, well, they already did that if they...
Yeah, but I love both of those movies, so just don't do it. Just don't do it.
Was there someone on this show who brought up this argument about how the Addams Family likes to do things that are like the opposite? There's like this opposite effect where, so like everything's dark and really fucked up, but then like it doesn't last because the further you take it, you just can't make a PG or even a PG-13 movie out of it anymore. Was it one of you guys? Do you guys remember this? Or maybe it was Luke. I feel like somebody was very strongly opinionated on the matter of the Addams Family and how it doesn't make sense what they do in those movies and really the whole thing.
Lots of people are saying.
Some people are saying.
I don't think I'd ever look that harshly into the Addams Family. But overall, it's just like, this could have been a solid movie, like standalone movie about Wednesday, but these like they keep stretching these simple stories out to like 8-10 hours, and it's like I'm exhausted. Who cares? So yeah, my pick of the week was Pearl. I watched the follow up to X. I rented it now that it's on digital, and it's fucking awesome. It's really fantastic, and I liked X, but I really, really liked Pearl. And I had my doubts. I'm like, okay, I get it. The team already has their equipment, so they're like, all right, let's keep rolling. We'll make an origin story for the hell of it. That's what I was afraid of. It just seemed very like, let's keep the fun going. Like, I got an idea. Why not? They're giving us money from A24, but it's a thoroughly fleshed out, incredible origin story, a la like Joker. It reminded me a hell of a lot of Joker. And it's fucking amazing. This girl, Mia Goth, I was blown away. If this was like... how do I say this? Do I say this?
Do you?
Yes, say it.
I got a feeling if this was a...
cut out!
I just got cut off. Power on my controversial comment. I got a feeling if this was a male performer, everybody would be like blown away and like screaming to the high heavens, dumping awards on her already. But like, sadly, this performance is kind of like going under the radar unjustly. It's superb. This performance is so good. Not enough people are talking about it. Check it out, man. It's fucking awesome.
I mean, maybe it's because I'm in like the horror scene a little bit, but I mean, I feel like a lot of people have been talking about her performance
In the horror scene.
Right,
But like,
but also-
everyone should be.
Yeah, but also it's a horror movie. I mean, they should be talking about horror movies more generally every year, right? I mean, like horror movies always kind of get pushed to the side in terms
This is
of
the
respect.
Toni Collette argument. It's one of the best performances of the past 20 years, and no nominations or anything for that performance.
Right,
And this is
yeah,
the same
no.
thing. It's just gonna skirt
Right.
on by.
And that's, I guess that's what I'm saying. Not that it's okay, but that I'm accustomed to it.
Yeah, sadly. But that's it, man. Fucking loved Pearl.
All right, I'll check it out.
Well, shit. You
Shit
know
on
what's
me.
fascinating is shit on me. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Oh, how
So,
awful goodness
if you- If you type in Cinema 9 in Twitch,
No.
it doesn't show up. So apparently you can't put any spaces. I put Cinema 9, space 9. That's not good. So I guess Twitch is very big on not using spaces. So just put Cinema 9 Pod with no spaces, and you'll find it.
Okay. Good to know.
Why are they so literal? Come on, Twitch. Why are you so literal? What the hell, man? Really, I just wanted to see because Guile posted a looks like an image, but it only shows up as a link in our chat over here. But you got to go to the Twitch chat to actually click on that image, and you got to be there. So these are things nobody else cares about. So we'll move forward from there. All right, let's see. I watched some things. Steve said, "Oh, Cinema 9 Pod. Oh, that's me chatting. Oh my God, I'm chatting with myself. How meta is this?" So I watched the movie Superman Returns, which we'll talk about in a moment.
Yeah.
And I was finishing up some other ones that I watched on Netflix. There was that a really, really good documentary. It's called, I think it's This Is Pop Music, or have you seen this? Either one of you guys seen this? It says This Is Pop Music, I believe is what it's called. And it is awesome. They do a whole episode on Boyz II Men and how they came to be and how they brought back the combination of Motown and Philly. Motown Philly's back again. Go, go. Oh, man. I used to have that cassette tape. It was awesome. It was a really, really good show. Strongly recommend it. Maybe it's on Canadian Netflix. I don't know, but
I saw
everybody
it, yeah.
should.
It's on.
Oh, you
regular
did see
Netflix.
it?
Yeah, I saw it.
It was just kind of bland. It was like to me, it's the first thing I thought of was behind the music in a way. I'm like, oh, we're doing behind the music again now, 20 years later. But it's a little different than that. So it's good, real good. And I watched the one on Swedish music and how all these Swedish writers are writing all this pop music, even to this day. Not just like ABBA and some of these other people you might have no idea who they are. But there's a bunch of producers in Sweden who write all these pop hits for all these bands and boy bands and all this. A lot of trash too, but it's pop music and it's a big hit. And I didn't know anything about these people. By the way, Robbie Baseball says, love the newer logo, guys. Hey, Robbie.
Yeah, thank you. We love it too.
Yeah, we really do. We're very pleased. It's simple, but classy all the way.
Yep.
And it's got that movie feel to it. I dig that.
You do.
It do be like that. Also, Robbie says he did a show. Robbie's episode was Fast and the Furious. So
Fast and Furious. You can forget.
yeah, I know. I was like, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, that was right. So, Cooley Eye Harmony, damn right, Boys to Men, ABC, BBD, the East Coast family. So, I really enjoyed This Is Pop, and I would like to recommend it to you if you like music and learning about music. It's a good time. What else did I watch here? I love that. I did finally do Beyond Thunderdome. I said I watched the first two, so I watched Beyond Thunderdome, and boy, you got something brewing there, but those damn kids, man. The kids ruined the whole movie.
Oh yeah, if they just stayed in Bartertown, the whole movie,
Yes.
it'd be great. But they got to deal with these fucking rats. You're right. Rats
Yeah.
always sinking the ship.
I mean, I was like, I did not expect that. I guess I didn't know what to expect with Mad Max. I did like the stupid mask they put on his head and sent him out into the desert. That
Yeah.
giant head. It was so bizarre.
Using
But what's
gulag.
those?
That's how I learned the word gulag.
Yeah, the gulag, right?
Yeah.
Once those kids showed up, Eric, I
Blaster?
really was. Master Blaster's fun, but then Master or Blaster dies so early. So spoiler alert if you've never seen this 40-year-old movie. But
That soundtrack.
that like clinking industrial score is really cool. I don't even know who did that. I didn't bother to look it up, but
And Tina Turner is fucking awesome in it. Why she didn't do more is beyond me. Maybe she didn't like acting or something, because there's a lot of sitting around. Maybe she didn't like that. I don't know. But I thought she was great in it. So campy, over the top. I love it.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it was really fit the role. So
yeah.
I think the movie kind of sucks. I completely agree with what Travis just said. Once they leave Bartertown, it just kind of goes to hell, and there's a search for Captain Walker, or whoever the fuck that guy was they're trying to find. But two key distinctions that, even though the kids and their tribe sucks, they bring to the table in my mind. Two massive ripoffs came from this. First off, the way they talk, I'm telling you, man, I just have the true up in my brain nonstop. I was like, oh my God, this is so Cloud Atlas. I just couldn't stop saying true for an hour after I watched Beyond Thunderdome because of those kids and the way they talk, you know?
Yeah.
And then
That's true.
And the other thing I thought that got ripped off from Beyond Thunderdome was South Park with their member berries, because that's how those kids talk. To like, remember this, remember that. I'm like, oh my God, this is such a rip. I mean, Beyond Thunderdome, not good after about an hour, but those two things really seem like, I don't know if Cloud Atlas was written before or after Beyond Thunderdome. I'll never know that for sure, but
if only we could Google, but not during the show.
No, we wouldn't do that during the show. That's not our style. We don't do that. That's Joe Rogan does that.
That's blasé.
Blasé.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, those were two revelations. Not only did I watch Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome and get familiar with Master Blaster and pig shit, a lot of pig shit in that movie. A healthy amount of pig shit. So, woo, what a treat it was. I'm so glad I finally watched that one. And if I hadn't, I would be missing out on pig shit. And I don't want to miss out on pig shit.
It's an 80s gem. I mean, at least it's under your belt now. You know the references and whatnot from it. So you're more culturally informed having watched it.
Yeah, I mean, Master Blaster, annoying the way they talk. Master!
Yeah.
Embargo! Master embargo! I don't know. Weird. Quite bizarre. You got to watch if you've never seen it, people. Just watch it once, at the very least. And, after that, I watched some movies that I've seen before. So I guess, I love Hacksaw Ridge. It's just an incredible film, man. And Mel Gibson is a complicated figure in our world today, blah, blah, blah. But, the love affair that him and Vince Vaughn have gave us Dragged Across Concrete, which is a great film.
We haven't talked about that in a while.
Yeah, I know. We haven't, right? And then, but Hacksaw Ridge is just really good, man. It's a brutal fucking movie. I love Mel Gibson was an alcoholic, and he's got problems. He always has problems, but I've always appreciated how raw he is when he shows war and violence. Like he decides to just really show you what it's like, and some of it is so graphic with fucking rats inside bodies and gnawing on dead bodies across a field of death. I mean, this shit is. War is horrible, and I don't think we should dumb it down. When we see it in movies, it actually does get dumbed down, and I understand why it does, because we're already coming from a lens of the puritanical society that we created, but I don't know. I do appreciate that about him, that he's willing to be honest about how brutal fucking violence and war are. They're horrendous, and we actually don't really get the full gist of it, and I think if we did as a country, we would be even more against war than we already are. A lot of people are.
Yeah, but at the same time, we get Twitter feeds of real life war now. I mean, we see more real life images of war today than anybody in history ever has, and that doesn't seem to be stopping war.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm speaking from more of a mainstream perspective, I guess, when I think of news coverage and all that shit. But you're right. No, if people really want to seek things out, you can see the brutal truth today as it is. You're right. Okay, yeah, that's pretty much it. I watched Autofocus, which is
Paul Schrader. We haven't talked about him in a while either.
Exactly. That's why I brought it up, because I'm like, oh shit, this is a Paul Schrader movie. For some reason, it kind of escaped me because I've seen autofocus a lot. I really enjoy autofocus. I think it's a fun watch. It just ends on a dour note, but
Oh man,
Fun watch.
it's highly entertaining. Highly entertaining film. Willem Dafoe. I figured you love Willem Dafoe, so you've enjoyed his performance in autofocus, Travis.
of course, I love that movie. And now, if we talk about the movie Bully, I think we'll have covered almost all of our bases. Say Society a few times, and this is like a full bingo for Cinema 9 podcast.
Cinema 9 bingo! That's right. Paul Schrader and Society, Bully. We did it. Okay, thank you very much. Oh, there was one thing. We did Shit on Me, but we also left out Kill Your Own Kind. There we go. Now we've done it. So now I think we have the bingo. That's the
we've done them
bingo.
all.
That's
Drink up
a
if you're playing a Cinema
bingo.
9 drink.
You gotta remember, do your interview with the vampire joke. You're gonna head west.
Yay! Brian Cox. Yes. Oh, man. If somebody has actually listened or watched this whole series of shows, I hope you enjoyed that.
Yeah, those jokes would have made sense only in that case.
But I guess Steve thought it was more of a Robert Loggia sounding. That's Brian Cox, but Robert Loggia.
all of my impressions sound like Al Pacino instead of a woman.
General gruffness.
General Gruffness reporting for duty. All right, there it is. Make sure you email the show, cinema9pod@gmail.com. Give us a 5-star review. We had a few reviews recently. We'd like to thank those of you that gave us those reviews. That's great. You can do that on Apple Podcasts, and it doesn't cost you anything. So if you have an iPhone and you can have Apple Podcasts, usually just built in. And if you don't have the app, you can download it. You can use it to listen to podcasts, but you don't have to if you don't want to. Either way, thanks for the 5-star review, guys. It helps the show grow. Yay!
It really does.
All right, well,
Okay.
now it's time to get to it. We've avoided it long enough. It's time for us to focus in on this week's selection. My choice, 2006 Superman Returns, directed by someone who's canceled and co-starring someone who's canceled, Kevin Spacey and Bryan Singer. Yeah. Also starring Brandon Routh as the titular character. Is that how people say it?
Yeah, I believe he plays Super Bland.
Here we go.
There it is, right off the bat. This movie is dedicated. This movie has a dedicated to Christopher and his wife. I don't remember his wife's name though. Sorry, Christopher
Dana.
Reeve. Dana, thank you. It is dedicated to their memory. Although maybe Dana Reeve's still alive.
No, it's dedicated to her because she passed about a year after Christopher breast cancer.
Oh shit! See, I didn't
Shit,
know
look
that.
at you.
Yeah, look at you, the historian. Well
Wikipedia.
done.
All right.
That way we don't have to Wikipedia during the show. Thank you, Eric. So this movie came out 2006. Travis, did you see this movie before watching it for the show this week? And do you recall that time you saw it?
Yes, because I saw it when it came out. I think I skipped it in theaters. Or maybe I saw it in theaters and then at home, but I'm pretty sure I only watched it the one time and then last night or 2 nights ago. And that's my story about that.
That's of all the. I mean, this is episode 137. That has to be the most riveting. Travis remembers.
Yeah, I watched the movie. Maybe I watched it twice. Podcasting is really hard, guys.
Oh, I see what Steve was trying to send me on the chat. There it is. Entrapment ass. I don't know if you can see that. There it is.
Okay, there it is.
I figured that's what he probably was sending
Legendary
me.
90s moment, or was it like 2000?
Pause button Hall of Fame.
Right on the border there. Might be 2000, 99, 2000. I'm going to say that movie came out 2000.
Yeah,
I said 99.
we're stocking that shit.
Yeah. At Blockbuster, we stocked
Yeah,
that. That's
Blockbuster.
true. Yeah, that Negotiator.
Yep.
It was a
Ooh,
busy
yeah.
time. Yeah.
Ooh, man. Remember that? Oh, my God. Speaking of jokes that got taken too far, man. 2011 Vegas trip, the knee bomb jokes went
bomb,
way too
classic.
far. I'm
Yep,
really
way
sorry,
too far.
Steve. Steve Viskowski, friend of the show. I love you, man. And I'm sorry that I pushed an E-bomb so much while your mother-in-law was with us in Vegas. That was too much an E-bomb. I admit that freely, and
rough.
that's from the Negotiator. JT Walsh as an E-bomb. Just really stuck in my head that day. Eric, do you remember seeing Superman Returns?
This is one of these theater experiences that I'll just never, ever forget. It's very vivid in my imagination after all these years. I'm sitting there with my friends, my giant tub of popcorn, my big pop, in a capacity crowd. The crowd was ready for Superman. It had been so long. Everybody's pumped. The trailer looked good. We got an established director coming off X2, one of the best superhero films up to that date. Everybody's ready. And we're sitting in this theater and it's fucking dead air for 2.5 hours. It's thick, dead air with people squirming, looking at each other, and wondering what the fuck is going on. I remember extremely well, like when Kevin Spacey's like when they're fucking around with the train set, which is like I timed it like 50 minutes in. The only thing our main villain has done is fuck up a train set. Like he takes like this 2-minute long pause and goes, "Wait for it." And the audience is just like, "No, we don't want to wait. We're fucking done. We're waiting for something to happen." Like, it was dead air. People were pissed.
Oh, that's a excellent retelling. Thank you. That was one of your best, I must say. Oh, by the way, Steve says, to complete my Cinema 9 bingo card, I need Bransham to say, I would watch Parker Posey do laundry for X amount of hours.
Trust me, I will.
That is the classic. He likes to watch people do laundry. I don't know. It's a weird fetish. But I'm not one to judge.
Yeah, watch Faye Grimm and do your laundry. I don't know if you want to do that.
Tide Pods and Parker
No.
Posey.
He wants to watch Parker Posey do her laundry. That's what he always says. Every time there's a woman that he's attracted to, he says, I could watch her do her laundry for hours.
Winona Ryder,
Dryer
Parker
sheets.
Posey.
Oh, my God.
So specific. Niche
Something
fetish.
so sexy
downy?
about being clean, getting
Little
clean.
snuggle.
Yeah. Snuggles! Okay, so when I saw... By the way, Parker Posey is in Superman Returns, which is fun. I saw this movie when it came out in the theater. I was super stoked. Very, very excited for this. And I saw it with my brother. I remember me and Matt went and saw this in the theater. And I remember loving it. I was like, oh, man, so great. I can't wait for a sequel.
Waited a long time for that, didn't you?
Yeah.
They made one.
They had one. Yeah,
They
there
had
was.
one. It came out in 2019.
Did it?
Made for TV. It was the Crisis on Infinite Earths, DC Arrowverse, whatever. He came back
No
to play.
shit.
Yep, I never saw it, but I'm aware of it.
CW. You missed that?
Yep.
I missed it.
Did you miss that on the CW?
Damn
You
it!
missed that event television on
I don't have CW Plus. I'm sorry.
Damn.
Wow, I didn't know that either. That's interesting. But I even got a poster. I had this poster of this movie. Yeah, the Main Street house we lived in. I had a whole wall of posters in that room, and this movie was one of those posters. It really was. So I was really into it when it came out. Maybe I was just that desperate. And this is before.
You were.
Yeah, I was.
I remember.
Yeah. Next week's guest, Paul, also was huge. Me and him talked about this movie a lot. He was like, this is a return to form. And I do remember me and Paul feeling like we were in the minority, but we loved it. We did at the time. Maybe because we were just so starved for it. And it's really key here to remember that, yeah, this is, even though it's only 15, 16 years ago, superhero movies were not the norm now. So these were still more unique at the time in 2006. And I think it's harder to recognize that now just because, you know, the MCU came out a couple years after this came out.
You're so right. I mean, was it 2010 that Iron Man came out? And
08?
It was 08, yeah. And Batman
Yeah.
Begins was around the same. So like between Batman Begins and then Iron Man, and even the Ed Norton Hulk movie, which were all around the same time, those all were much more viable, like true good superhero movies in a way that we hadn't seen much of. And there have been other good ones before it, don't get me wrong, but I felt like things really turned a corner with those.
Yep, that's fair. Batman Begins came out the year before, so DC was like, okay, we're trying to roll this out. And you know that, was it George Miller wanted to do that whole Justice League around this time after this movie came
Dark. Yeah.
Yeah, after this movie came out. That was a real thing that was coming together. All right, let's talk IMDb rating for this. It's got to be bad, but not like terrible. I feel like it's going to, because it's a nostalgia heavy, a tribute to Christopher Reeve and the original Superman. So I'm going to say it's like a 6.2.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe a 6.
Eric?
6. Yeah, 6.3.
6.1. It's a 6.1. We're all very close. We're all right there.
That's
6.1 with almost 300,000 ratings.
That's
So.
on the lower end of the IMDb scores for movies we've looked at on this show.
Okay.
Well, I'm trying to think of the lowest one. I know the Annihilators maybe wasn't even rated, so that wasn't fair. But I wasn't on the Blood Diner episode either. So.
Blood Diner was in the 5s, I believe.
Okay. Right.
Well,
yeah, it doesn't have I mean, this is definitely one of the top 10, top 15 lower rated movies we've done. On Rotten Tomatoes, 74% from the critics, which is a solid score, actually. That's higher than I thought. Yeah, higher than. Yeah. And then 61 from the audience. They like it less. It's barely
a D-.
a buttered tub. It is. It's barely a buttered tub of popcorn on Rotten Tomatoes. From the archives of the critics' reviews,
You'll have Destin. This is prime Destin time, I think.
Yeah, I feel like there's a real brief statement from him. There's got to be one on here. So far, I've not seen any of our favorites. I'm seeing more. No, man, not getting anybody good here. Usually we get to somebody quick that we love, like Goody Koontz. We've got, here we go, Richard Roper from Ebert and Roper, which is blasphemous. But while I can't call it a home run, I'll say it's a solid base hit. That was a lame review, Roper. Roper.
Phoned it in that day.
Let's try this guy. This is a new name. Michael Sragow. Michael Sragow of the Baltimore Sun in 2006 said this. Superman Returns is slavishly reverential and morose. The Passion of the Christ from Krypton with a sad, erratic pulse.
Yep.
Kind of like that.
Takes me back to being fucking depressed holding my 64-ounce fountain drink of Mountain Dew in 2006 in the theater.
You're big pop.
Mountain Dew.
Shit, that's funny.
Puke.
Mountain Dew. Yeah. Well, Mountain Dew was big once upon a time. It was. Yeah. We have to understand the power that Mountain Dew held in this country back in 2006. How about Rex Reed, our old pal, said,
we know him.
Strictly for fans on school vacation, period. That's it.
Okay.
All right.
So. Oh, how about Kurt Loder? We don't always get a Kurt Loder review from MTV.
You can tell us what he says, but you have to say it like you're Kurt Loder.
Oh, that's really hard to do. Okay, I'll try my best. The bittersweet love story is interesting, and the digital action looks as costly as it obviously was. But despite the considerable amount of time that Superman spends flying around the sky, his return never really takes off.
That was pretty good.
We got Matt Pinfield reporting on this at Tab of the Soul.
Yes, Liquid Television, up all night. Where's Kennedy at?
Loder is such like a long-haired Cronkite who's so just like, I want to be doing something else. I want to be taken seriously.
A long-haired Cronkite. That is good. That is really good. Well done. That's funny. Oh, gosh. There are a lot of reviews for this movie because it was a blockbuster. So
it was.
That will happen from time to time. I was really wanting to get Destin on the record here, but I'm not seeing him, guys. I really, really think he had something to say, but pretty much. Mick LaSalle of San Francisco Chronicle, an action sequence isn't just about spectacular visions, but about making audiences care about those visuals, about what they mean for the characters. There, Superman Returns comes up short.
Okay.
I don't know what he's saying there, that like it's not about the visuals, but it is.
Well, I think he's saying that like in an action film such as this, you don't just want set pieces. You want like an emotional connection to what's happening. You want it to move the story forward and the character forward, not just to be visually dazzling.
Absolutely, man. I mean, here's an example. Lois Lane has no lines during her entire introduction and that whole sequence in the plane. They don't even bother to introduce Lois with any like fun exchange or anything like that. They just cut to her. She's sitting around on the plane, and then this like 20-minute long action scene proceeds, and like there's nothing. They don't bother. There's no nuance with these characters at all. They just kind of show up, they stand around, and then they get into these they get in these situations. Unforgivable for Lois, man.
You know, I actually have a phrase that we haven't used for our bingo today, which is "rats in the wires."
Oh, yeah. Well, it's been like that for the whole show. But I figured you're not in your normal location, Eric, so I understand. It's okay.
49 minutes, okay.
He's right. You did bring it up 49 minutes in. That's true. So. But maybe he forgot. It's been a long time. It's not rats on the wires. It's just
popping.
You'll hear it later.
Fine.
You'll hear it later. You'll be like, oh, God damn it.
It's not.
Yeah, that's why it's not that bad. We would have said something if it was rats in the wires. For those of you that don't know, that is a big accusation. Not quite there, but
he's not full on rats in the wires. Which we say rats in the wires because it sounds like there's rats eating your wires.
Rats in the wires is leave the show immediately.
All right,
yes,
well,
that's fair.
That bad. It's not that bad.
But the movie doesn't have to set everything up because they give us credit. We know who Superman is. We know all the parts and the characters. So I know maybe you're not saying that either about Lois's introduction, which, the plane sequence is a complete. Remember, this is a tribute to Christopher Reeve and to the original Superman. So there's tons of reimaginings of scenes from the first Superman from 1978 in this movie.
I will say,
I'm surprised you still like it, Mike, because this is classic, like requel. This is Superman 1 and 2's greatest hits, like the movie.
Yeah.
And usually you're the first one to be like, we've seen this shit before. Look at The Force Awakens. You're going to hit all the beats of the original and claim this is a third installment.
And it's also kind of weird to skip the third and fourth one. But anyway, they did it.
Look, to respond to that, this movie was to me, actually bothers me because it's fan service the movie before fan service became a thing. This movie is the origin story of fan service in modern Hollywood filmmaking in my mind. And yes, that does bother me. It's like, yeah, we have seen all that before. But when I originally liked it back then, it had been so long and it was a different time and place. So I was like, okay, I'm actually cool with this. But now in 2022, there's been so many redones, reawakenings that it's so played out. But when this came out at that time, back then, I was excited, and I can see why people enjoy these tributes and fan service because it does. It hits nostalgic buttons within your board, if you will.
I will. That's fine. So, what did we like about this movie? Let's start there.
I thought Brandon Routh was a good Superman. I did. I thought it's not hard to play Superman in my mind. He's there. He doesn't have to say a lot with emotion because Superman's supposed to be stoic and chill in a way, at least the way he's been created on screen many times before. So I give him a pass. He's not Christopher Reeve, but I give him a B as Superman.
Isn't he doing like a Christopher Reeve impersonation though, especially as Clark Kent?
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
All the way.
I thought he was very skinny and boyish for Superman. For me, when I think Supes, I think barrel chested. Like to me, Henry Cavill has not had like the kind of charming moments that Routh gets here. I think that are very true to what Superman should be. But as far as look goes, I mean, Cavill hits it in my mind.
But so did Reeve.
Reeve did too, but I think Cavill even more personally. In terms of looking like because he looks like a fucking comic book character. The guy's chest is like,
yeah.
I mean, it's like a ping pong table, it's giant and flat.
That's fair. Yeah, no, you're right about that.
I kind of think Brandon Routh did the absolute best he could with what he was given. That's all there is to it. He's got the earnest nature to him. He's warm. And he can definitely pull off like the aloofness of Clark in a way that doesn't wholly seem like mimicry. It's kind of his own thing.
I totally thought you meant Ernest P. Worrell.
No, he's doing an Ernest impression the entire time. He talks about Vern when he's talking to Lois. I like Brandon Routh in the movie. I don't like the costume at all. I think the costume looks really stupid. I hate that they were kind of ashamed of the bright red and like had to make it maroon and like 2006-ish. I think that was a mistake. That's what I like about the Marvel movies. They're not ashamed of their source material. If you got a big, bombastic, colorful character, they make it big and bombastic. Here, we've got to make it muted. It's too. We can't have it too bright. It's fucking got to be somber. I think the costume's dumb, but I think he does a nice job with what he's given.
Yeah,
I think he does extra good as Clark Kent. Personally.
Oh, he's a great Clark Kent.
Yeah,
yes,
I think he's a better Clark than Supes.
And not only is this a tribute film, I guess it's a sequel. It is supposed to be that Superman returns because he left based off the original Superman's minus 2, 3, and 4, right?
Minus 3 and 4.
Yeah, as you said earlier. So, yeah, we pick up from that story, which is a big leap. It's a big gap for a sequel. And Lex Luthor, everyone's been changed. They're all played by new people, of course, because it's a movie that takes place many decades later. But I think Kevin Spacey is Lex Luthor, and I know he's canceled. I understand that, but I would say that I liked his Luthor. I don't think he tried to be too goofy like Jesse Eisenberg did, where he tried to be the Joker / the Riddler / all these things mixed in one. I thought Spacey's Luthor was solid. He was very self-referential and like wink wink with a lot of stuff, but I didn't think, since the character was designed that way anyways, to have a massive ego, that it didn't not make sense to me.
Yeah, I think that we've addressed the problems with Kevin Spacey enough, and other movies, other episodes we did his movies. We don't need to spend too much time on that. Everyone understands he's a scumbag. Let's move on. I do think that he made a perfect sense to play Lex Luthor at the time. As I mean, he was kind of the Gene Hackman of 2006 or so, and that he was like someone that people could take seriously, but also was funny, could be funny, could play like a bombastic asshole. So I think it definitely made sense. I agree with Eric that there's like, Lex Luthor has always been kind of a problem for me as a villain goes, because it's like, so he's smart and rich, but like he doesn't have like the skills of Batman. So it's like, what is he? He's just kind of like biding his time until he can find this super rare material that he constantly comes up across, in his life.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So it's like, I've always, and then so all of a sudden, like he's a very unthreatening character through most of the movie, despite all of his yelling and stuff. And then he's like kicking the fucking shit and crypto shanking Superman. So it's like, whoa, this is like the movie's taking a sudden turn. Like he doesn't seem villainous enough in a lot of ways, but he is, I think, more overtly villainous than Gene Hackman was, because as much as I love Gene Hackman and as much as I love those first two movies, I do feel like he's a little bit like too nice, like too like friendly, like he's just like, I never bought him as a villain exactly. I like him, like, well, he seems like an okay guy. I'd hang out with him. Kevin Spacey clearly is a dick.
Clearly, yes.
I love the way Kevin Spacey plays Lex Luthor. I've never cared about Lex Luthor. It's like, who cares? He's smart. Like, yet again, we're going to do another land scheme. We're going to do land again. Who gives a fuck about land?
It's supposed to be a continuation, though, so it makes sense technically because it's a continuation of his character.
Dude,
it is.
You keep saying that, but you're wanting more of the same, Mike. Like, and everything that happens, you keep wanting more of the same. Like, the reason
I don't say I like it. I'm just saying it makes sense.
I think the reason that Lex works as a great villain in the late 70s is because the limitations of effects. I mean, you couldn't really convincingly do a Brainiac or like a Bizarro or a Doomsday or a Darkseid back then. So you had to rely on a great actor, like doing something relatively minimal. But I love the way Kevin Spacey plays this, because this is a Lex Luthor that, is the same as Gene Hackman's in the 70s, but he did 5 years of hard time. So he's got more of this menace to him, and it's fucking personal, and he's not really clowning around. He's got a very, very personal vendetta against Superman, and he's fucking pissed.
He is. Yeah, Papa's pissed. Absolutely. With all due respect. Remember, this is Bryan Singer, who's also canceled. Bryan Singer and Kevin Spacey. They had a long relationship already, going back to The Usual Suspects. And Bryan Singer had done work here on the X-Men franchise, which had exploded this time. So it looks like he's like, wow, you know what? I did some pretty good stuff with the X-Men franchise. I could clearly do the same thing for Superman, and I'm going to get carte blanche from Hollywood to do this movie. And what you end up having is a bloated mess, I guess, because, look, I know people get pissed about the lack of action in this movie and that it's Superman's love story or Superman emo, emo Superman. I've heard a lot of these. I've seen all these headlines and stories about it before, but they try to tell a story that doesn't involve endless violence. Is it supposed to be always action-packed because he's a superhero? I don't know.
I do think that if we're going to mention Singer and X-Men, I mean, it's a little obvious, but we have to bring up the fact that James Marsden left was killed off of X-Men 3 in a very like terribly stupid way.
Yes.
So he could come to this movie, and I guess so that he could play a character that him and Superman just cuck each other, I guess. Of the movie. Super cuck and regular cuck. I don't know.
He plays Perry White's nephew. By the way, played by Frank Langella. Awesome Perry
Oh,
White,
yeah.
by the way.
That's
Yeah.
part of the movie.
Great Perry White.
What about Kate
James
Bosworth,
Marsden.
though? We haven't talked
oh,
about.
Jesus.
Go ahead,
Okay,
please.
dude.
Sounds.
I'm sorry, dude. Okay, you're going to have Brandon Routh take all this time to be both directed and pretty much kind of do his homework to be the a Christopher Reeve, like incarnate. And then you're going to have Kate Bosworth come in and not remind you one iota of the great Margot Kidder, the intrepid, spunky, plucky reporter we knew from those first movies. It's like a completely different character. Drowsy, sleepwalks through her scenes. This is not Lois.
Bitter, pissed. Look, okay, I was kind of going to save this for the end, but Brandon Routh came out of nowhere to do this movie. And since he did this movie, he did what we referred to a moment ago, the Arrowverse, what have you thing.
CW Plus.
Has he done any other films whatsoever?
Zach and Mary make a
Dylan Dog.
porno.
Okay, so a handful. He had there was like, oh, is he going to be a thing? We'll put him in our movie just in case. And then he wasn't a thing. All right, and then Kate Bosworth, what is she from again?
I remember her from The Rules of Attraction as somebody that Vanderbeek has sex with one night.
Yes.
And after that, I get hazy.
Okay. So I think I'm making my point already. Like, these
made your
people
point.
were probably not ready or the best people to lead a film. I've got the words flat and wooden written in my margin here. That's them.
well,
That's
but that
him
brings
and
up-
her.
So
Go
that
ahead.
brings up a point I wanted to mention about casting, because this is casted by the legendary Marion Doherty.
Sure.
Well, that's surprising.
Yeah, right? Like, past prime? Is the prime gone by?
Well-
Maybe this was too little too late? Maybe,
Come on,
she's-
casting
no-
directors, they wrangle actors, they do supporting roles, but this is straight from Bryan Singer. Kevin Spacey suggested Kate Bosworth after they worked together on Beyond the Sea, which is a fine film. And then Bryan Singer took him up on the suggestion after some auditions. But, I mean, Kate Bosworth is all of 22 in this role in 2006 as Lois Lane. So let's
young.
wind back the clock. Clark left 5 years ago. So she would have been about 17 if we're taking her actual age into account here.
Which
so
we're not.
automatically got some problems. And then go back even further than that. You can't have no history. She looks like a kid. The
She does
timing's
look
way
like a kid.
off. Give me a break with this.
Well, and if she had like the charm and the the charisma
Yeah.
to pull
No
this off,
feistiness?
then it would
Nothing.
make sense. But she's just a dour and unfun through
Look
the
that
movie. I just baffling choice of
Oh, we got early Cal Penn here playing one of Luther's
Heavy?
minions.
He's playing the Heavy.
Yeah, he's the nerdy Heavy, apparently. The brains behind the big brains, if you will. Guy behind the guy. Marlon Brando archive footage. I wonder how how my old pals there from the original Supermans, the Salkins, feel about that. I wonder if they...
Yeah.
How much money do the Salkins get because they used that Brando footage, which was completely unnecessary? I know they're trying to homage back to the original, but it's just to throw it in there.
if you don't have the Brando footage in there, can you beat us about the face with the Christ imagery as easily? If you don't have
Sure.
him, if you don't have Marlon intoning, "I gave my one and only but forgotten son," if you don't have him doing that, do we know that there's Christ metaphors happening here? Because otherwise, I don't know. It's so subtle.
Amanda says both leads were the it people and both fizzled.
They sure did.
Didn't work out.
But there's also beats of Christopher Nolan in this movie where you get repeated lines, like those lines from Brando about the father becomes a son through his eyes and blah, blah. So to me, that's always a Nolan classic. They love repeating lines that happened earlier in the movie just because they're bad at writing scripts, the Nolans are. Even though they're incredible. Christopher Nolan's a great filmmaker, but questionable dialogue writer.
Questionable dialogue,
Yeah. So of course there's Christ metaphors because Superman himself basically has always been this Christ-like figure in the way he was created and how his inception happened. And all.
He gets
So
stabbed in the side, and then fucking Lex Luthor does the Christ pose. He gets the Christ pose again when he's falling from space. It's like, how many Christ poses can we shove into this movie?
yeah. And it's a cloudy mess over the seas until Superman comes in through the sky as it opens like, oh. Yeah, there's
True.
I'm
Let's
not surprised
forget,
with all that shit.
This kid is the future savior. I mean, talk about on the nose. This fucking kid. The second we got a problem here. The second this kid shows up, we got a twofer. When a kid shows up in a movie, that's a problem. Number one. Then two, when the kid has the inhaler, you know you're fucked.
Yeah.
He's gonna have to get the inhaler later on. They're not gonna be able to find it. Get this trash out of here.
Yeah, we all knew Superman's kid. The least shocking reveal was that piano murder because it was just they kept lingering on the kid so much. Nice try, dude.
Of the murder of one of the Joker's henchmen, I guess, is who that guy's supposed to be.
Is that how I thought it was an Insane Clown Posse reference? But you're right. Yeah, I don't know.
He drinks a lot of Faygo off screen. I don't know.
Yeah. And what? Oh, Travis, I wonder how pissed you'd be about this. You haven't brought it up yet about how the one dog eats the other dog.
Well,
How do you feel
believe
about
me,
that?
I've got 2 notes on that, and I was going to save it for my wrap up and notes that
okay.
came up. But yes, believe me, I took fucking note of what a hilarious joke it is that this Pomeranian had to consume its mate, and also Lex Luthor is not responsible for that Pomeranian. There's a whole house of people there that loved that woman that walked out and left those Pomeranians there. And then the movie ends with a joke that Lex Luthor is going to eat the survivor Pomeranian. I'm like, oh, what a hilarious joke. Audiences love it when you kill adorable dogs in brutal ways off screen.
They always have. That's why I figured you would really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm baffled. I mean, I can't. This script has me scratching my head. I like Mike Doherty and Dan Harris, dude. You know I love Trick or Treat, but this thing goes through 6 rewrites. This is a fucking $250 million movie, and there's so many fucking baffling choices here. This kid, okay, this is supposed to be like part 3. This is a return, and you're already like sticking Superman with a kid. Like, even if they did make a sequel or it made a new trilogy, this kid's not going anywhere. So you're just gonna like have this like family around for whatever movies you possibly have in the future. It just does not work. Maybe in a trilogy capper to like send him off with something to look forward to, but like in this return, come on with this.
Well, I've got questions too. So is it that kryptonite is not dangerous if you saw it, but if you drop it in water, then there's a big problem? I missed that it turns into an EMP. That was kryptonite, right? Or is that a Fortress of Solitude crystal? Which I guess
It was a crystal that made the EMP happen.
That gets that's my next point then. So the Fortress of Solitude, all you got to do is walk up into it, and then
you don't need a tugboat to like bust. You don't need a iceberg buster either. You can just take your yacht, your beautiful yacht, right up to this Arctic Isle and walk right in,
and just walk right in. Use the material, grab the first crystal at random, but like anybody could fucking walk in and do this. I get it's the Arctic and not everyone goes up there, but like that's it. Good. Like it's just hanging out there like a bank vault, just hanging open.
Yeah.
That scene was cool though. I always love that scene, even though the movie was not great. The whole bank scene of those robbers, it looked cool, and it still looked good to me watching it with the bullet to the eye and him taking all those Gatling gun bullets to the chest. That was actually a kind of tiny taste of what this movie could have been, maybe.
It's cool, but that moment is 50. I think I clocked it at like 50 minutes in. 50 minutes in, our big set pieces are a fucking train set falling apart and Parker Posey like fucking driving around with no brakes. In a summer blockbuster about Superman, that's the 2 action pieces in the first hour?
Okay, and for one, I guess the shooter doesn't understand. The guy that shoots him in the eye doesn't know how Superman works. Like, welcome to Earth. He's never heard of Superman. And the other thing is when the fucking when that train thing is blowing up, we get screams from the toys. The toys are all screaming. They're all actually screaming. Like that's so.
The toys were screaming. No one on that plane screaming, mind you, but the toys are.
Oh, you know who's not screaming? is Kate Bosworth's head being banged again. Like when she's in that plane, she's just going all over the place.
No
just
injury.
She's fine.
around, back and forth, not bloodied up a bit. But and then towards the end of the movie, she's on a boat, and now she's getting banged around again. I'm like, what vehicle will she be banged around in next?
Oh my god!
Every major set piece of this movie, she's just get the shit kicked out of her.
I did like the okay. That's her. Also, Steve says, "Win a Date with Tad Hamilton." These are the movies these people were in. If you're desperate to try to fill the void on Bosworth and such, but I did like the intro's cool, man. I like the intro. It goes through all the planets and through like the universe, and that was like promising. Like, okay, we get a little Brando intro with that intro. I'm excited, but it's really weird how Superman crashes in a plane. First off, by the way, if we see Superman in space, why does he need a plane? Can't he just fly fast as fuck to anywhere in space? It's a minor detail.
And where did he get the plane? I guess.
Yeah, where did he get this ship? It's a Kryptonian ship, and he has a suit, a silver suit that I don't know where he got that either. And then, this is so dumb, but I have to mention it. When he crashes and Ava St. Marie goes to find him out there, he like taps her on the shoulder to show that he's awake and then dies. Like if you were out cold, you would. It was so stupid, but like it's just lame. It's an example right off the bat of the lack of eye for detail. For such detail about the older films and trying to recreate those scenes, there's just endless amounts of errors and stupidity. Just filled. It's rife with stupidity and poor efforts.
Legendary Oscar-winning actress Eva Marie Saint, who I love in On the Waterfront and North by Northwest, and you don't give her hardly any dialogue with Clark. There's no exchange about what did you find out there? Did you find what you were looking for? There's no, Pa Kent would have said this. There's nothing between them.
Incredible.
And yet we get like 30 minutes of Kitty Kowalski running around with a fucking dog. It's so baffling.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, like you've hit it, man. Like you've got Eva Marie Saint, and you're not using her. Like, I mean, you are using a gold encrusted can opener here or something. It's like completely. You're not. It's like you've got this great tool, and you're not using it the way you're supposed to. It's just bizarre.
Yeah, and what is the deal? So, Kitty, what is this person like? All she does is she hates Lex Luthor. Why does she spend time with this guy?
She's Miss Tessmacher. Remember the originals?
But
Miss Tessmacher.
But she's not anymore. She's Kitty
an assistant.
now.
Like she's there to like do the daily operations that like Lex can't do.
I know why, but it doesn't make any sense in the film because everything he does, she's against, and she's like, "Why am I doing this?" All she does is hate him. There isn't any moments of love or even a hint of like, "Oh, I could see a real connection here." It's really a bogus relationship.
Stupid. In the first two, there's like she's like this pretty bimbo, but also has like the she's like the moral center that's missing from Lex Luthor's life, I think.
But she also goes into it, Travis, and then like pulls back later. Like she's into his plan and then turns in the older ones. And this one, I never see a hint of that.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like the old one, she serves this function because she's kind of like playing off of that by actually having morality.
Okay.
And here we see that there's like a little bit of a moral struggle because I guess she shrugs when Superman recognizes her. Like I don't know. They're really and then like after I don't know several weeks of this plan, she's like right before it's about to be executed, she's like, so billions of people really are going to die? Like now you're concerned about this? It's about to happen. Which brings me to another point. What the fuck is his plan again? He wants to like drown America so that he could have. He wants to drown America so that there's land in America.
We need one of those honest trailer rundowns of a bad guy's plan. That's what we need.
He thinks
people
are going to buy beachfront real estate on this fucking Arctic chunk of rock that takes up. People are going to support it. Who is going to support this this real estate endeavor like created by a megalomaniac? You got fucking people leaving Twitter because of Elon. Now think about people who are going to live on this rock that a fucking megalomaniacal maniac killed billions of people to create. His plan's not going to work.
Well, he wants his cut.
I have officially deactivated my Twitter, so anyone that used to follow me, bye.
Oh. Well, it's still doing what it does every day. People are pissed. People post things. Nobody cares. But nobody cares. There's so much that this movie does to try to get us to buy into this big philosophical struggle. Like, do we need Superman to survive? Is the world better off without Superman because we could do things ourselves? They shove the shit down your throat with Lois's challenge and her contrived inner crisis about, I wrote this article, won a Pulitzer for it, but now he's back, and oh my God, what was I thinking? It doesn't.
Lady boner.
I got no interest. It doesn't suck me into the movie anymore. If anything, I'm just like, oh God, this is getting kind of annoying.
Because they don't bother to write an interesting scene where Lois explains her points about her Pulitzer Prize winning report. We don't get any dialogue about how she feels and why the world doesn't need Superman. We're just meant to believe that it was a great report that won the Pulitzer. Fucking dog shit.
Well, is there enough time in the 2.5 hours that this film is to do all the things that we're discussing?
Thank you for saying it. That was the whole point when you made a point earlier about how there wasn't any of this or that. That's because they already cut this down. Who knows how much shit was on the floor? This is a 4-hour movie minimum with all the directions and all of these stories they're trying to encompass, and it's not reality. Like Cal Penn's characters, for example, he's supposed to have this background as a former science reporter at the Daily Planet who became bitter, and it's like, where the fuck are you gonna fit that in? I mean, get the fuck out of here. We don't have time for. I saw it on IMDb for the trivia. It was something that was a backstory for his character. Every character's got a backstory that we often, a lot of times, we just never even hear about. But to me, it's an example of there's so much to cover when really all people wanted to see was Superman come back on the screen and do some fun shit, and people probably would have been more pleased.
No, we want Super Kid for an hour of screen time.
Yeah, I mean, when he does finally fight the bank robbers, I'm like, thank fucking God, he's fighting crime. Finally, an hour into the movie, they're going to have Superman fight crime.
Finally, an hour in.
Yeah,
and
we
you're
get
right, man.
the whole...
So much cut. One interesting thing that they cut, and I'm scratching my head, is the fact that Lex orchestrated this supposed return or presence of Krypton that sent Superman away. So that's a really interesting thing for Lex to have done to get rid of his adversary. And then they don't bother to mention it. It's like a throwaway line like, oh, there's some rumors that Krypton is still there, so that's why Superman left. Come on, man.
I didn't even pick up on that.
There's nuggets that are fun, like when they show him thinking back to his childhood and being a teenager and jumping and running across Smallville. That's fun. Cool. Yeah, all right. Yeah, look at that. That looks pretty good, actually, even for being 16 years old. But again, it's just too little of these moments that are fun. With Superman, it can be a fun character. He often is he cracks jokes and he is more upbeat.
Only Christopher Reeve's films has that been presented to us really, I think, in live action. I mean, we've not, even in this, we still don't. I mean, that's the only, I think, whimsical kind of Superman that we've gotten, and they kind of try for that in this, but they don't quite land on it. Instead, they just kind of turn Clark and they focus too much on his bumblingness instead of the fact that that's an act that he's putting on. It seems more like he's actually kind of just like a misfit and a fuck up.
Lois is smoking.
Let me totally creep on her, then come and tell her on this disastrously obvious set piece of a mountain or of a building,
the rooftop.
The rooftop. It's just so. Oh my God! It's such a fucking stage, and then. And he's watching her with her family. For one, really good job with X-ray vision and how X-ray that long distance hearing works. I think they do a good job of showing us how that would work. Cool. But then the reality is well, shit, Soups is a creep. He's just creeping. It's inappropriate. Go home.
Well, there's some challenges now with the X-ray vision and all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, maybe that doesn't hold up as a skill. But holy crap! Oh my God, time's flown by here. We got to get a few more jabs in here. Again, Parker Posey's good, Frank Langella's good, even James Marsden's good in his character, but there's way too much of that character. The fact that he left the X-Men for this role as Perry White's nephew makes sense to me now, because he's way too much in the movie. For a Superman movie, this nephew guy, James Marsden's in it too much, and I love James Marsden. I'm not against him.
Oh, I love him too. But why?
Why? I remember sitting in the theater stop cutting to him. We don't give a fuck. Now, granted, it'd be very easy to make him actually a dickhead, and then maybe he's aligned with Lex, but he's just kind of a nice guy that Clark has to compete with.
That's a good point. They didn't go down that road. I'll give him credit for that.
I'll give him credit for that too, but also it's then where's the tension? I guess the
Yeah.
tension comes in the fact that, like, I guess if he's a nice guy, then you don't really want Lois to cheat on him with Superman, and then you get Superman being more emo. But so they created a love triangle for us, and actually they did good in this casting, because not a lot of people could make you like the character. I think that I do like the character. Like, at least he seems like a good person. The character seems like a good person. So, like, in that respect, I don't like have it out for him. I'm not like, oh, I hope that Superman takes her away, you know.
Superman dies. He falls to Earth, and he's really gonna die, guys. It's just like they did in
Every
the
time.
goddamn. Yeah. Why do they do this to us? Even the new ones, they did it where Superman died at the end of Batman v Superman. We know he's not dead. Come on.
Like, you're taking one of the most unkillable characters, and every time you put him on screen, you're gonna pretend like you've killed him. Like, we're ever gonna fucking fall for that? Like, we're ever gonna believe that? Come on, man.
Again, there's points with that piece too, where they try to put the syringe in his skin and the needle bends. Those are cool moments that actually show that the people who made this seem to understand the character and how he works, but they chose so many directions that don't make sense. And when you look at it all in the end, I look around and I'm like, geez, this is supposed to be a good time. And even if it wasn't a good time, I'm down with a more soulful kind of introspective Superman. I'm not against that, but it just doesn't add up when you start to look at the way him and Lois interact and how he interacts with the world around him. It's really strange. Very strange. I don't know. I guess maybe we've said it all.
Should we do our rounds?
I got to tell you one more thing that I did.
Yeah.
Man, I've been really trashing this, but I love the way it looks. I think Newton Thomas Siegel, who is a super underrated DP, Drive, Three Kings, Crouching Tiger. I think the film looks gorgeous. I love like this soft kind of like romantic glow to everything. I think it fits the material. So I think the film looks beautiful, and the CG for 2006 is smooth and cool.
Yes.
It doesn't look like everything's a cartoon. Like the plane sequence, I'm making fun of it, but like I think some of those shots are fucking awesome. Like when he gets under the nose and he's trying to stop it. I think that is really, really cool. It's just
There's also
does look good.
between.
Well, there's also some moments where he very much looks out of, like, it's a green screen. He looks like very much like local weather,
Be tricky.
local weather. But I do love. There's this one moment in that opening bit where I'm like, well, honestly, if he was holding the wing like that, it would rip off, and then it rips off. I'm like, oh, well, that's nice.
Yeah,
I thought that the CG looked outstanding for being 16 years old now. It doesn't look terrible to me. I didn't notice anything glaring, but when he lands that plane and the way it crumples down, there's just these moments where you're like, wow, that's awesome. And that's how
cool.
force would work. And you're like, okay, you understand this. But then they'll go to the next scene after that, and they don't understand anything. I mean, having Superman hang out floating in the sky while they're having this discussion about, did you really bang Superman 5 years ago or not? What's the story there? And he's listening in. Of course, if I was Superman, I'd want to know too. If I was obsessed with Lois Lane or I loved her, I would exploit my powers as much as I could to try to get as much information as possible. It makes sense to me.
He backs off.
Yeah, he backs off, but in the end, he's okay. I'll just go into it then. Is that it? Was there any other note?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah, I loved this movie when it came out, and I was really into it. But now we live in a different world, and when I see it now, it doesn't move as quickly. To me, this movie is long, but it always flew by for me. It was very fast. To me, it was quick. I'm like, oh, wow, man, that movie flew by. But now it looks slower. It feels slower. It drags. And the acting, I was younger. Maybe I've just got a more keener eye now. You know, I've been around. I've seen a lot more movies, and it's not great. And I never thought about that before. I just accepted it back then because I was 26 years old when it came out. So if Kate Bosworth was 22, I'm like, okay, whatever, great, yeah, who cares? But Kate Bosworth is poor, but she's not bad. I'm not going to say she's bad, though. I think she's okay. She's okay as Lois. But
it's not bad.
Yeah, she's not bad.
Just has nothing to do.
She has a lot to do where she's always pushing for other stories. That's one other thing about the movie as well. Lois and the part of her that's always looking for the real story, they stay true to that in this movie. So they do that, and I'm going to give them credit for that. She's always looking at what's really going on, not the surfacey stuff. And it's actually kind of a fascinating and curious look at the world today about what's really going on and what's the real story as opposed to what we see on the surface with misdirection and all that stuff. I actually find that interesting, but it's a Superman movie. This isn't a WAPO procedural. Okay, so we're not trying to solve a mystery through the newspaper solely. The newspaper should just be one bit part of the overall film. And I guess when I watch it this time, I actually get a little bit caught up when he's being beat to hell on that alien crypto thingy that Luthor made, and I do feel bad for him, but other than that, there's too much dragged out, and I guess this movie doesn't hold up. I don't think it does. And it's not just because of it's made with people who are canceled or made by someone who's a scumbag who assaults people. Those are awful things in of themselves alone. But if I look, and I always try to do this with these movies here because we want to give credit to other people who didn't do terrible things, who worked on these films. It's always important for me to recognize that, hey, whoever the best boy was or the catering service, they were good people. So I don't want them to suffer for the acts of the ultimate scumbag who directed or co-starred in this. But it's nothing to save. It doesn't hold up.
I'll jump in next, I guess. The movie tries so hard to have heart, and to have that be like a grounding thing, like that it has like this wholesomeness to it. So I respect that it tries to have that, but that's a hard note to hit. There's this one moment towards the end of the film when he's in his coma and she kisses him while he's asleep, and then his heart beats, and I'm like, Jesus fucking saccharine Christ, it's just groan worthy, So even like the moments, the moments that they really want to land don't. There are some parts that do the plane crumpling, like you said. There are some moments that do land. Don't get me wrong, but like watching that stupid ass train set scene go on for like 15 minutes, I'm like, what is happening here? And Steve made a guile or in his email earlier today and made a comment about me folding laundry when I'm watching movies, which I must have made a offhanded comment about that or something, because I don't ordinarily do that. Ordinarily when I watch these movies for our show, I'm pretty clocked in with the paper and pencil and all that stuff. This movie easily was the movie I took my phone out the most. I just kept on having to set it down and be like, oh, fuck, sorry, I forgot, I gotta pay attention. But I was bored to tears. It was fucking boring. I gotta wonder, man, did you think it was gonna hold up? Because I knew it wasn't going to. You said last week, like, well, fuck me, I was dreading it all week. I'm like, oh shit, I gotta watch Superman.
I loved it. Yeah, I loved it when it came out, and I was a supporter of it for years.
Yeah, it was worse than I remember. It was worse than
you remember.
Yeah, definitely does not hold up.
It's interesting that the film actually outgrossed Batman Begins. Wow. We perceive that as being a hit that was absolutely deserved of a greenlit sequel immediately. And yet this made more money of it, and then all buzz just died down. And here's a pun for you. Superfluous. I mean, that's the movie. It's just unnecessary. Bryan Singer, he said that he was not going to make the movie if he couldn't get the rights to John Williams' original classic score.
Which is
so
great.
good.
That kind of says it all. This is nothing but homage. It's a love letter to two older films, and it's like fan fiction. It's like fan fiction that would never be sanctioned by a studio normally. Yeah. Okay, I sit here and I'm like, how did this get greenlit? This story, it's just nothing but a guy wanting to like harken back to some of the movies that he enjoyed as a kid, and they dump all this money on him. It's morose, it's sappy, it's sad, it's bloated. It's baffling in its choices. In the original, Superman has a pendant of kryptonite on him, and he nearly dies. Now he can lift a fucking continent of it and like be fine doing it. It's strange. And you have these opportunities. You have great special effects when he goes up and gets the power of the sun. That's fucking awesome. And for me, anybody who thinks this is a great movie is just focusing on those moments, these great visuals, but they're not taking into account how ridiculous this story is and unnecessary, man. We've seen all of this in that first one. Man, I think it plays better on the small screen. I'll tell you that. Like in the theater, I told you before, like everybody was fucking groaning. It was dead air. But on the small screen, there was some stuff I could appreciate because the spectacle didn't seem so pronounced to me. So I wasn't really bored. I was just disappointed with a lot of these choices, man. And I think its heart is in the right place, but doesn't hold up. It's not worth returning to.
Yep. Steve says Vis is pissed.
Pissed I had to watch this movie.
Maybe we should have known this from the start when it said produced by John Peters. So
yeah. Key fact right there.
I'm sure he wasn't involved, but he probably just had the rights. I recall that being the case. But whatever. Yeah, that was a big sign. Fan service, the movie doesn't hold up, and shows you that sometimes it's not going to work out. It's just not every homage needs to be done, or nor will it be done well. So there you go. That's this week's show. Before we go, we got to get Travis to reveal next week's guest host, the one and only Paul Freeling. What's Paul got in store for us next week? This guy knows movies.
He knows movies. He's a movie guy, and he chose like he went back and forth on a few movies, and like you, Mike, I didn't really guide him one way or the other. I just kept on telling him like, there's a deadline. Just whatever you tell me last is what I'll go with.
That's right.
And he finally settled on a movie, and once he settled on it, he was like good for like weeks. And I even checked in like the day before. I'm like, "Are you sure?" He's like, "Yes, I'm very sure." I'm like, "Okay." And the movie he's chosen is one that was always going to be on this show. I think that when we started this podcast, we were like, at some point, we're going to get around to this movie. And I think that it makes a great deal of sense that our old friend Paul Freeling will be joining us to discuss 1999's Fight Club.
Oh, boy. There it is.
We always knew someday it would be on this show.
I knew
wow.
Fuck.
So,
yeah.
Okay.
Get into it.
Yeah, time to get into it. I haven't seen it in a long time.
In a while.
It makes sense to revisit.
Kind of worried.
Yeah, that's partly why I haven't revisited it in a long
worried.
time. So,
yeah,
totally makes sense.
Yeah, it's a good call by Paul. Hey, Paul. Good call, Paul.
Good call, Paul.
My name's Paul, and this shit's between y'all. All right, there it is. That's this week's episode of the Cinema 9 Podcast. We thank you for listening or watching. Subscribe to our YouTube. Give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. If you use Spotify, you can click the 5-star thing, and that's all you got to do. But just remember that the show is better with you than it is without you. And getting people like Steve to chime in with Better Call Paul comments in the live chat, that's a good thing. Thank you, Steve. Great to have you here, my friend. And I guess that's going to do it for Travis, Eric, and I am called Michael. We'll catch you later.
Great Caesar's ghost.